Alright guys, it's that time of the week and we are back for our championship score predictions. Plenty of juicy games to dive into ahead of the weekend. The games are coming thick and fast during this December period, and as always I want to get your guys' verdict on these matches in the comments down below. And if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like. Your support recently has been absolutely fantastic. If we could hit 400 likes, that would be greatly appreciated. But without any further ado, let's jump into the action. Starting out at Turf Moor for the Friday game between Burnley and Middlesbrough. And you know what? This is one of the toughest games to call this weekend because something has to give in this game. It's Burnley who have boasted the best defensive record in the Championship so far this season, going up against Middlesbrough, who have been one of the most free-scoring sides in the Championship up until this point. Coming into this weekend, Burnley have kept 5 consecutive clean sheets, but during that same period, Middlesbrough scored 18 goals in their last 5 games, so something has to give in this game. To provide a bit of further context on Burnley's defensive record so far this season, they've only conceded 2 goals in the 8 games they've had at Turf Moor, but contrasting to that, Middlesbrough have scored 17 goals on the road this season, which is more than any other Championship club has managed. So who's going to come out on top of this one? Burnley's impenetrable defence or Middlesbrough's fantastic forward line? For Burnley, it does feel like they've started to get things moving for them in the final third. They've started to score a few more goals recently, and obviously they are looking like a really strong case for the top 2 right now. But with that being said, if Borough do win this match, they'll only be 3 points behind Burnley, and we have already seen Michael Carrick's side winning some big matches this season. You know, we've seen them go to West Brom and win. They beat Sheffield United at the Riverside not long ago, let's not forget. I just think that Burnley back line is hard to look past with how consistent they've been at Turf Moor and keeping clean sheets especially. Score prediction here. It feels wrong back in Middlesbrough not to score, but I'm going to go 1-0 Burnley, but Borough could very much prove me wrong in that one if their forwards do show up. Next up and into the first of the Saturday early kickoffs, we're going to Ellen Road for Leeds up against Derby. I mean, these two have had some great clashes over the years, haven't they? Thinking back to that playoff semi-final a few years back in particular. Now, Derby do find themselves in a little bit of a rut right now. They've lost back-to-back matches, both at home where they've tended to be so strong as well. They're 4 games without a win. Going away to Ellen Road probably isn't in the most ideal circumstances, given that run of form right now. In saying that, Leeds themselves looking to bounce back from a loss last time out. They weren't at their firing best, losing 1-0 against Blackburn Rovers, but generally speaking, they have been pretty consistent at rolling out the results at Ellen Road so far. Derby will always be a threat, especially from set-piece situations. That's where they can look to harm Leeds in this one or on transitions going forward. But with Derby in a bit of a rut right now, they've only won 1 of their last 9 matches. I'm going to go 2-0 Leeds in this one and back Daniel Farke's side for a bounce back in that one. After that, to Hillsborough for Sheffield Wednesday up against Preston North End. Really good win for Wednesday last time out, winning late on against Derby. But they have been hit with a bit of bad news ahead of this one for the Preston clash, and that's that Barry Bannon will be suspended after picking up his 5th yellow card of the season in that clash against Derby. He will be suspended for this game, and it'll be interesting to see how Danny Roll tries to rejig the side in his absence. They definitely lose a lot of creativity from midfield without Bannon in the setup. From a Preston perspective, it's been a really weird run of form of late where 8 games without a win, but we've not really been losing that many matches of late either. We've actually drawn 6 of our last 8 games. It was another draw for Preston over the weekend against West Brom. That second half performance against the Baggies, probably the best we've played in quite some time, albeit we're still looking for our first away win of the season. I will flag up, Preston have won on their last 2 visits to Hillsborough, so I've got my fingers crossed that we'll be able to make that 3 out of 3. But Wednesday are no mugs right now. Yes, they are missing Bannon. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here, which wouldn't be the worst point in the world for Preston, but I mean, we really need to find a win somewhere soon. Next up, we go to the Stadium of Light for Sunderland up against Stoke City. It's now 6 without a win for Sunderland, who could really do with getting back on track in this game against Stoke. Now, funnily enough, these two play each other twice in December in the Championship, and they've just been drawn against each other to play against each other in the FA Cup third round as well. So these fan bases are going to be sick of the sight of each other by the time they've played that third match in January. But how will this fixture go? Well, Stoke were on a decent unbeaten run prior to the weekend where that came to an end against Burnley. Sunderland obviously had that bonkers game against Sheffield United last time out, which on reflection definitely could have gone either way. In the end, they ended up losing it. They really could do with getting back to winning ways in this one, though. I could see Stoke nicking a goal in this one, especially on the break or something. I just think Sunderland have to get back to winning ways eventually. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 2-1 Sunderland. It just feels like they're desperate for that win after so many draws recently. After that, we go to Cardiff up against Watford. Both sides looking to get back to winning ways after each drawing over the weekend. Cardiff had that 2-2 draw away at Coventry in Frank Lampard's first game in charge, and Watford were held to a goalless draw at home against QPR. Watford not quite at their best in that one, but the form book is looking really decent for Tom Cleverley's side. It's only one loss in their last 7 matches. They're sat in the top 6 right now, and definitely the side with momentum coming into this fixture. In contrast to that, Cardiff are now without a win in their last 5 matches as they sit perilously close to the bottom 3 at the moment. I do fancy both sides to bring a decent goal threat into this one, and to be honest with you, a draw wouldn't massively surprise me here. I think I'm just edging it to Watford, maybe with that bit of extra quality that they've showcased so far this season. I'm going to go 2-1 Watford. It just feels like for the majority of sides in the bottom sort of 7 or so at the moment, wins have been quite hard to come by. Next up, we go to Hull up against Blackburn Rovers, and it does feel like a decent time to be playing this Hull City side right now, who are looking desperately short of confidence. They're 10 games without a win. They've lost their last 5 consecutive games in the Championship, and as of recording, are yet to hire their next manager. Going up against the Blackburn side, who have really turned the corner of late. They had found themselves in a bit of a rut in sort of October into the early weeks of November, where John Eustace's side had lost 5 of their 7 Championship matches, but since that point they've really turned things around. It's 3 consecutive wins, and their last 2 in particular against Middlesbrough and Leeds, both massively impressive, winning both of those games 1-0. You know, I was totally wrong in predicting both those games. I had Blackburn to lose each of them. So fair play. To come away with 2 clean sheets in those matches in itself is really impressive, but 6 points even more so. With the way the form book's going right now, I think it's tough to look past a Blackburn Rovers win. It would be typical Championship if Hull pulls something out the bag here, but on the balance of probabilities, I'm going 2-0 Blackburn in that fixture. Next up, we go to Luton up against Swansea. My God, could Rob Edwards do with a win in this game? Really poor, especially on the road of late. It's 10 losses in 18 matches for Luton this season, which is way below the standards that group would have set for themselves at the start of the campaign. Quite a damning loss over the weekend, obviously, against Norwich, shipping 4 goals in that game. But for as bad as they have been in away matches of late, they've tended to be pretty competitive at home. They've won their last 2 home matches, both by a 1-0 margin. They're going up against a Swansea side here who have been pretty tricky to call of late. It was a good win they got away at Derby recently. They were pretty clinical in taking their chances in that game, but couldn't follow it up with all 3 points against Portsmouth over the weekend. Had to battle their way back into that game from being 2 goals down. It was a very dominant second half performance in particular. Swansea so far this season haven't been that free scoring on the road. They've only averaged 0.6 goals per game in away matches. I've just got a sneaky feeling that Luton maybe pull something out of the bag at Kenilworth Road again in this one. Score prediction, I'm going to go 1-0 Luton. I think it'll be a close one though. After that, to the Den for Millwall up against Coventry. Frank Lampard heading into his 2nd game in charge, and I think he would have realised after that first game against Cardiff that there probably is quite a bit to do with this Coventry side to get them competitive and into a state where I think most Coventry fans want them to be, which is pushing up the table and in and amongst the top 6. Going away to Millwall isn't the fixture that you probably want right now. They're unbeaten in their last 6 home matches. And while Millwall have been pretty draw heavy of late, you know, they've drawn their last 3 Championship matches, the overall picture has been pretty strong for them recently. They're 9 unbeaten, both home and away of late. In that run, they've not been conceding many goals. Coventry are a bit of an unpredictable one to call right now because Lampard will, I'm in no doubt, be introducing these gradual tweaks as the next few weeks go along. A draw wouldn't massively surprise me here. I think I'm just going to edge it to Millwall though with home advantage, and I'm going to back them for another trademark 1-0 home win at the Den. After that, to an absolutely huge game at the bottom of the Championship, we're heading to home park for Plymouth up against Oxford. Now, for as bad as Plymouth have been of late, and don't get me wrong, they've been absolutely woeful in their last 2 away games. You know, they've conceded 10 goals in those 2 away matches. They will leapfrog Oxford in the league table if they beat them in this game. They're only 1 point behind Oxford right now, and for all the struggles we've spoken about with Plymouth having on the road so far this season, Oxford have accumulated the exact same amount of points as Plymouth have in away matches this season. Oxford have only taken 2 points from their 8 away matches this far into the campaign. So with Plymouth tending to save all of their best performances for matches at home park, this could be a bit of a perfect storm here for Wayne Rooney, who definitely is feeling the heat. Certainly going off the media reports at the moment, it feels like he's got these next 2 home matches against Oxford and Swansea to almost save his job and prove that he's still the man to keep Plymouth competitive this season. The atmosphere could be a little bit weird in this one around home park. It does feel like the tide is starting to turn a little bit. Not just on Rooney from what I've seen, but for some of the higher-ups from that Plymouth fan base. So if they go a goal behind in this game, Oxford could really play on that. But in saying all of this, Plymouth have been really consistent at picking up points at home this season. They've only lost 1 of their 8 home matches this far into the campaign, and I've got a sneaky feeling they may get over the line in this one, maybe with a last-minute winner or something like that. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Plymouth, which could be a result to save Rooney's job. Next up we go to Portsmouth up against Bristol City. Portsmouth probably disappointed they couldn't hold out for all 3 points, having been 2 goals up away at Swansea, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that's a bad point for John Mousinho's side. Back at Fratton Park for this one, hopefully the fixture actually goes ahead. Obviously we saw their last home game being called off against Millwall, but it's got to be these sort of home matches now where Plymouth look to target consistent points to try and build that foundation to get themselves up and out of the bottom 3. Now this game won't be easy against the Bristol City side who put 4 goals past Plymouth last time out. Anis Mehmeti in particular looked absolutely fantastic in that game, didn't he? While Bristol City have lost 3 of their last 5 matches, if you look at who they've played recently, those losses came against Sheffield United, Burnley and Watford. All 3 of those sides currently sit in the top 6. So generally speaking, Bristol City have been pretty good this season at picking up points against those sides below them in the table, but it does feel like Portsmouth have been gradually improving. I think I'm talking myself into a draw for this one. Score prediction here, I'm going to go for a 1-1 between these 2. After that, to Loftus Road for QPR up against Norwich City. Now, to be fair to QPR, they have been a little bit more sturdy of late. It's back-to-back clean sheets now for Martí Cifuentes' side, who have taken 5 points from their last 3 matches. But I mean, the crucial and potential turning point in QPR's season, it has to come in a match at Loftus Road because they're still searching for their first home win of the season. And the longer this goes on for, the longer they're going to find themselves in this rut in the bottom 3. I think a lot of QPR's success in some of their recent matches where they have been picking up points has been built upon a solid defensive foundation, like we were saying, because goal scoring wise, I mean, QPR haven't been great this season. They've been the lowest scorers in the Championship up until this point, and I mean Norwich are coming to town here who have scored more goals than any other club this season. They've scored 10 in their last 2. It's hard to see QPR keeping a clean sheet in this game, and because that's where most of their points have come from, I think it is Norwich who I am swaying towards for this one. I know Norwich have been pretty patchy in away matches recently, but score prediction for this one, I'm going to go 2-1 Norwich. And then to finish off the weekend, we're heading to the Hawthorns for West Brom up against Sheffield United. Should we just get this prediction out of the way straight away? It's more than likely going to end as a draw, isn't it? With West Brom in town at the moment, their record with drawing matches has been absolutely ridiculous. 9 of their last 10 games now have finished level, obviously. Me as a Preston fan, I got to see West Brom up close and personal over the weekend when they travelled to Deepdale. Honestly, thought they were going to absolutely blow us out of the water when Colin Grant scored that really nice chip finish against Di Cornell. But second half, I was absolutely flabbergasted by how much their levels actually dropped after half-time. Don't get me wrong, Preston played a role in that. We really improved after the break, but West Brom's lack of endeavour to go for the kill in that game against Preston really surprised me, to be honest, but I think that's been a case with quite a lot of their performances of late, and I reckon they'll be pretty conservative in this one against a very good Sheffield United side. Sheffield United, who are the form team in the league right now, over the last 10 championship matches, no team has picked up more points than the Blades have. In saying that, they've not been the most free scoring of teams on the road so far this season, and I think that plays into my theory that this one probably is going to end level. Score prediction, we're going to go for a 1-1 draw and another draw for West Brom. Well guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do get all your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you see all of these matches unfolding? Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.